Great. We're going to start off like we always do with a land acknowledgement. We want to acknowledge that we gather on the traditional land of the Kumeyaay peoples, past and present, and honor with gratitude the land itself and the people who stewarded it throughout the generations. Welcome, my name is Aaron Bullard, and I'm with the Choral Consortium of San Diego, and this is our Conductor conversation for the month. We are a service organization composed of choruses and individuals who support the choral art form throughout San Diego County. If you are so moved and want to increase the impact of choral music throughout San Diego, you can make a donation, and you'll find that link in the chat and also in the description of the YouTube video if you're joining us later. Tonight we have two great conductors with us. I will have them introduce themselves and we'll get started. We'll have Ruthie, go ahead and introduce yourself first.
Hi, I'm Ruthie.
My name is Lucy Lin, and I am, excuse me, I'm the music director for San Diego Chinese Choral Society, and I'm also the founder of the Canto Performance Foundation. So we have about 40 to 45 members right now. Since COVID that we did a Zoom rehearsal. So right now we went on live, partly Zoom rehearsal and partly live at one of the recreation center. So I am not a conductor, I'm a voice person. I graduated in Santa Cecilia in Rome and a vocal. And I have been a music director for the San Diego Chinese Choral Society for the past 10 years.
Wonderful. Thank you for joining us. And we also have...
I am Ruthie Millgard, Artistic Director of the San Diego Children's Choir. My pronouns are she, her, hers.
Thank you so much. And so now we'll move to the chat. I'll go ahead and turn off my video so I disappear. And we're going to have Lucy read the first question.
Okay. First, before I start a question, let me thank you for a fantastic job that you did for the San Diego Sings. You work hard with Carol with you, and you two did a fantastic job, and we all enjoyed it very much.
Thank you, Lucy. I enjoyed it too.
So my first question to you is, what is the most challenging for conducting the children's choir?
The most challenging thing for conducting the children's choir, oh yes. Boy, the number one issue, the number one most difficult thing is that children's minds are incredibly malleable and flexible, but also quite forgetful. And so I know most of us adult choruses, most of our adult choirs rehearse once a week, but the once a week rehearsals for the kids is particularly difficult because so much sort of falls out in between rehearsals. That's the most challenging thing, is trying to figure out how to maintain high quality, high standards while we're rehearsing. And Lucy, I also see a question in the chat too. Should we go into the question that's in the chat function? I see it in my chat screen. Do you see it?
No.
That's okay. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to ask. This is the first question posed to us by Aaron. So I'll go ahead and ask you this question. But first, would you like to reciprocate the question that you asked me? What's the most difficult thing about conducting with the Chinese Choral Society? And then we can get into the first question from Aaron.
Okay. Chinese Choral Society, although most of us looks Chinese, but some of them are actually American-born Chinese that they do not read Chinese.
Oh.
So some of the Chinese music, we have pinyin for them. That's why you see some Caucasian singing with us. Before I took over San Diego Chinese Choral Society, they were strictly singing Chinese music.
Interesting.
With the numeric music, because a lot of them do not read the music.
Okay.
So, when I took over, I kind of combined all the music, and I personally believe that we cannot just perform for the community of Chinese. We need to perform for the community of San Diego. That's why we have combinations of the music.
Mm.
And also to please the majority of the audience. They not necessarily like the classical music, so we have some contemporary as well.
Mm. And I know you had much of your education in Rome too, so you were heavily influenced by classical European music as well, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I know very little about Chinese music.
Oh, wow.
I left home at 15
Mm.
to go to Japan, and then from Japan I went to Rome. From Rome I went to
Wow.
Royal College of Music. So most of my life it's the Western music and the
Wow.
operas and the Italian music. So
That's wonderful. Well, I'll go ahead and jump in with Aaron's first question. This is quite a different question. His question is, what is your favorite meal to prepare at home?
for myself, I cook very simple food. Sometimes I even enjoy just going to a Rubio for a bowl or for tacos. But I love cooking. I love cooking for people. I love to cook for large crowd of people, and people, when they come to my house, they expect to have Chinese meals.
Mm.
And so are the musicians. I house all my musicians that coming through San Diego. So, so it's Chinese cooking. Yeah.
What's your favorite Chinese meal to cook?
You mean what my friends like?
No, what's your favorite to cook?
Gong bao
Okay.
chicken, and I just cooked some for my daughter over the weekend.
Oh, that's nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
My husband and I lived in New York City, and our favorite meals were in Chinatown, and we miss it greatly. I know we've got some good Chinese food in San Diego, but it doesn't seem to compare to me. So my favorite meal to prepare at home, well, I could talk about food for hours and hours. Food is my favorite thing. If I weren't a conductor, I'd be a chef. So not that I'd be a very good one, but I actually just, we moved to a new town here in the county, and trying to make friends, I reached out to a local group on Facebook to try and get a dinner club going. So I'm sort of instigating a local dinner club with some people that hopefully will become some friends of ours. And I've been thinking about what would be the meal that I would want to make everybody. And I keep coming back to making coq au vin, the chicken with wine, the French chicken with wine recipe. I love something that's going to simmer all day, and I get to smell it for the second half of the day, and enjoy just looking forward to it. And of course, I start salivating sort of hours before we start eating, and so the reward is so much more satisfying. And I also find if I make something that's sort of ready immediately, I just sort of munch along the way, and then by the time we sit down, I'm not really that hungry anymore. So if it's cooking all day long, and then I've got this long buildup, I find that I don't continue to pick because I'm not preparing a meal while I'm hungry. And so I feel like I find the eating experience so much more satisfying that way. So I think that might be my favorite.
Do you have a large family to feed?
No, well, we have the four of us who live here. I have my husband and myself and our two sons who are 9 and 4 who won't eat coq au vin, but I don't care.
Okay.
And we have some family there nearby. But no, it's typically on a smaller scale that I am making food for. I find it, I think it's pretty intimidating to make food for a lot of people. I think I'd love to, but I don't know that I've done it enough yet to feel comfortable with it. Okay, here's the next question. Lucy, who or what inspired you to pursue music?
My father. Yeah, my father was a pretty good singer. He was a tenor. But my grandfather didn't think that as a musician, he would be able to support the family. So he became a doctor, a gynecologist.
Wow.
But then he encouraged me to study music. I love to sing ever since I was a young girl. Did a lot of competitions and took some voice lesson at 15. And then I left Taiwan to go to Tokyo University of Arts to study voice.
So you're from Taiwan originally?
Actually, I was born in China,
Oh, okay.
and then after the Second World War, we went back to Taiwan.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my. Oh my. It would be wonderful to sit down and pick your brain about your childhood. And I have the same response. It's actually my dad as well. My dad's the musician in my family. My mom, I hilariously enjoys the music that my dad produces, but she'll sing in the kitchen and everybody will sort of go, "Ah."
Really? Okay.
But my dad is a pianist and an amateur composer. And
Wow.
so growing up hearing, nonstop piano played at my house, and he was stuck on, his passion is sort of the Romantic era classical music, Western European classical Romantic era Brahms and whatnot.
Mhm.
And so I heard more of that growing up than anything else. And when I was in high school, I started developing an interest in jazz music, Ella Fitzgerald and the like. And he bought me CDs. He bought me all the CDs that could support my growing love of a different genre than was his home, but that he was so excited that I was passionate about that, that he assisted with pursuing it. And then, of course, when I went to college, as an undergrad, in the United States, we don't necessarily choose our careers quite so early, or choose to pursue studying of one particular area. And when I went to college as an 18-year-old, I didn't know that I was going to pursue music. I actually was thinking about becoming a history teacher, and I feel really strongly about history. And I think deciding to be a teacher was more important to me than wanting to be a music teacher. And I think that's obviously made sense that I ended up with a youth choir. But I feel more strongly about teaching than I do about music. But that's, of course, that's not to say that music isn't right up there. But my undergraduate choral department sort of slapped me in the face with how amazing it was. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't declared as a music major. And then one of my friends dragged me to a choir concert, and I went to the choir concert and I went, oh, that's what this is. That's what this is, because my high school choir was actually pretty terrible. So I wasn't really inspired by it. I was in choir in high school, and I played piano, and I read music, and but I hadn't had an opportunity to really be inspired by it. So while it was in my bones from my dad, it wasn't until I got to undergraduate and studied under Dr. Leslie Gelkercone, who's retired now. But it wasn't until I saw her product that really made me want to pursue it seriously.
Okay. Have you ever heard of a singer called Melba?
No, I haven't.
Okay. Melba is a coloratura soprano from Australia. When I was maybe 14 or 13, there was a movie about her. And I went to see that movie, and I totally fell in love with the operas and all these classical music. And I wrote to MGM asking for the list of songs that she sang in the movie. And I sent that list of music to my brother that was studying in Tokyo medical school. And I said, get me all these music. And that's how
That's amazing.
That's how I started.
Wow, you wrote a letter to the MGM studios.
Yep.
They wrote back to you with a list of the songs.
Yep.
Wow. Do you still have that letter that they wrote back to you? Oh, wow.
I still remember all the songs that's in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And your brother was able to get you the songs?
Yes. I still got those books that he sent to me. They're ancient, they're falling apart, but.
Wow. That's amazing. That sounds so fantastic. Aaron's posted his next question here. I'll go into it. What upcoming project are you most excited about?
For me, I'm supposed to be semi-retired, but I am.
Your upcoming project is retirement.
But the project keep throwing at me. So we're doing some community service, and not exactly me, but I promote musicians, and they perform for some senior living. So we got one coming on actually tonight. another one in June. And then I have built Canto Performance Foundations so that we have a concert coming up, which is a more professional levels. And then the San Diego Chinese Choral Society has a concert coming up on December the 4th, Saturday. We call it a Pace Nobis, Peace Unto Us. And this is pretty much a celebration of the holidays. And I have a workshop coming up, masterclass on Saturday, this coming Saturday. So it just seems to be things.
Wow, lots
one
of
after
projects.
another.
You've got to phase yourself out gently, right?
Yeah. So
that's wonderful. I'm not near retirement, unfortunately. And we do have a number of projects coming up. We have our spring concert in 2 weeks on June 4th at anybody who's on the line who's interested, you can go to our website, San Diego Children's Choir. You can search it. And
live concert.
It's a live concert. It's the Poway Center for the Performing Arts.
Okay.
Yeah, with the COVID cases on the rise, all of the kids on stage will be masked, but audience masking is optional, though encouraged. Yeah, we know cases are on the rise again. What a shame. But I have 2 projects personally that I'm so pumped about, and one of them that's been in the works for a long time with the San Diego Children's Choir is that we're actually going to start hosting an annual Summer Youth Choral Festival that's for high schools from outside of the area. So there are a number of really wonderful summer camps for local high schoolers and middle schoolers, Soccer Profana Choral Intensive, and John Russell starting one at Palomar College. So there are a number of local opportunities, but what we're hoping to do is have San Diego become a destination for community youth choirs that are around the country and possibly internationally as a summer festival destination. So we're really putting the accelerator on the planning for that. The inaugural year will be 2024, so I can't wait.
Okay.
But another project that's coming up that's a very personal and passionate project of mine is that we have a partnership with a national organization called Music and Memory, which brings music to those living with dementia, Alzheimer's, and other brain degenerative diseases. And so we have partnerships with 2 different local retirement communities that have memory care centers where there are people living there that have dementia. And we provide, we do concerts for them regularly where there's singing involved and hand movements involved, and that can really activate the brain. If anybody watching, just do some quick Google searches on singing's impact on the brain when it comes to somebody who has dementia, and you'll see sort of quite remarkable effects that happen. But I'm expanding that partnership to include regular classes at these memory care centers where myself and my high school singers teach classes to memory care residents themselves. Just regular sit in a chair and sing along with us classes. The classes look a lot like what maybe a preschool music class would look like, because when you sing recognizable songs like nursery rhymes, even somebody who has advanced stages dementia actually can trigger the memory recall centers, the long-term memory storage centers for music. Are some of the final memory centers, final areas of the brain to actually degenerate. So even after somebody loses the ability to speak with dementia, they can actually still retain the ability to sing.
Wonderful.
So it's quite remarkable, and I'm really excited about it. We're going to be starting that here this fall with one of our partnerships, and I'm looking forward to it possibly expanding. There's an organization in the UK called Singing for the Brain, which does exactly that, and that's sort of where I've gotten the idea from, but I haven't been able to find any stateside versions of that. So if any of you have any recommendations for me, and if you know about anything, I'd love to get connected with an organization that already does that. I'm so excited.
Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah, it sure is. Yeah, my grandmother had dementia, and it was the experience that I had with her that triggered my interest in pursuing the concept. I had accidentally, and this was probably 15 years ago now, I had accidentally just sat down with her in her apartment. She had had dementia for a number of years at this point. And I took out her wedding album from 1945, and it had a song on the opening cover that's a song that it didn't stand the test of time. I didn't recognize it. It wasn't one of the classics, and I really am into those sort of the standards from that era. But I started singing the song with her, and at that point, she didn't recognize really who I was anymore, but she started singing the song with me. She was singing the song with me that she hadn't heard probably for about however many 70 years. And that triggered something. So I went online and I searched things up, and I found this organization, and 25% of us end up having dementia, and my students actively have grandparents who have dementia. And so being able to learn how to interact with and love and care for somebody who has dementia is an essential component of our experiences. And I'm so excited to be doing that with my high school students.
Yeah.
As you can tell, I feel really strongly about it.
Yeah, my older sister has a dementia right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sing with her.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's hard. Does she have kids?
Yes,
That's
but
good.
she also lives in Taiwan, so it's very hard on the kids, and I have to travel back and forth.
That's
one of my nieces just came back after 2 weeks quarantine in the hotel, and then 1 week at home. So she went home about 4 weeks. She only saw the parents 3 times.
Oh no, that's awful. Oh,
yeah, it's very, very difficult right now.
Yeah.
Music can definitely heal. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that you are doing a wonderful job on that.
Yeah, it's really warming and satisfying.
Yeah, rewarding too.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, Erin's posted the next question. What have you learned from a setback you've experienced?
Setback off?
It just says setback. What have you learned from a setback?
Setback, okay. COVID, let's talk about COVID, right?
It says, he says mistake,
this was
etc.
2019, is it? In March, that's where COVID started. But in March, I fell and broke my tailbone.
Oh no.
So I told the choral members that is a good timing because we can't rehearse anyway. So starting then, we did a Zoom rehearsal, and as you know, Zoom rehearsal is extremely hard.
Yes.
It's a delayed sound effect, and you can hear them. They don't know whether they are singing correctly or not. But it was the only option that we had to keep everybody together, to keep everybody active and singing. So it was a setback, but it was a good thing because we gained a lot of out-of-state members. So now it looks like the Zoom rehearsal were here to stay, because for the out-of-state members, that they can join us on the Zoom and then fly in to join us on the concert.
Wow.
So the setback turned out to be a benefit as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I heard this analogy presented in the early stages of the pandemic, saying, how are you going to reorganize your garage? You've a tsunami, a hurricane has just swept through your neighborhood. It's torn everything out of your garage, and it's all strewn everywhere. And the chances are you are not going to put everything back into your garage the way that it was before. Chances are you're going to reorganize it, and you're going to improve your storage system. And I think that's what so many of us have been able to do. Those of us who have survived the pandemic, or organizations who have survived the pandemic, have been able to reorganize a little bit and figure out how we can be more effective organizations. I know that's happened for us as well, and for you, you said with reaching people outside the state. I know that literacy has always been a priority of mine with my singers. Um, almost to a fault, right? Where if we were living in the Midwest, we might be prioritizing the end result, the performance and the competition. I prioritize literacy with my rehearsals, and I always had struggled with music literacy specifically. I'd always struggled with the sight reading component and oral training, because when you've got a whole large choir in front of you, in order to pinpoint individual progress and success and activities, it's incredibly difficult to do that on a grand scale. And so I started using, in the pandemic, I started using an online sight reading resource called Sight Reading Factory, and it's changed everything. And we're using it on a regular basis now, even when we've gone back in person. And in the 2 years that we've started implementing use of this program, and students have weekly assignments that they complete at home, the advanced students do. I've noticed a marked improvement in literacy skills from my students. We're able to attack more repertoire and learn it faster, and focus on musicianship or musicality and articulation instead of just learning notes. And that's been a huge improvement in the program. So a setback, as you said, COVID has been the setback, and through it we've learned how to sort of reorganize and restructure and shift and improve. And we're lucky that we've had that experience.
Well, when we first started, I thought we had become very antisocial. You don't get to see people, you stay at home.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, we have never been so connected with each other with COVID.
Yeah.
What we do affect the other person.
Yeah.
So in a way that COVID, I think, taught us a lot of things. And we become more creative to do things, to go on living, come up with the option way of continue with whatever we are doing. And on that thought, I would like to ask you, what do you think is the best method of teaching somebody sight reading?
Oof.
Some people are really good at sight reading. Some people just cannot.
It's really challenging. I would say, unfortunately, the older you get, the harder it is, right? Because younger people have, children in particular have such flexible brains and such sponge-like brains, and it gets harder and harder as you get older. That's not to say it's not impossible. And I find this doing, boy, it really depends, right? It depends on, if you do some sight reading exercises in your rehearsal, are your insecure choristers going to sort of hesitate slightly and just listen and rely on other people's sounds in order to produce their own sight reading, where they're not really sight reading? Or are they truly interested in becoming better musicians, and they're going to not hesitate with the entrances for the activity, and they're not going to wait and lean on crutches from people that they're listening to? It's really easy to lean on more talented people in your ensemble who are better readers than you, likely because they just have more experience, of course. And then in that way, you don't really improve as an individual. You really don't improve quite so much. And it's not until you're held accountable as an individual that's where the improvements really start happening. I don't know how to make that happen across the ages or across the types of groups. Yeah, that's a huge conundrum. And you know what? I don't know very many people who've solved it. Right?
Okay.
And you know, most of the stronger sight readers are instrumentalists too, still, and that's such a
Yes.
bummer. But this sight reading factory, this app that we've been using, where students have to log in online, and we get everybody an account, and everybody logs in online, and they have an assignment weekly. The great thing about Sight Reading Factory is that you can sing a sight reading line, and then it plays it back for you if you want it to. You can play individual notes, so you can see what you're doing correctly or incorrectly. But there is also a level of sort of computer and internet savvy that needs to be there in order to be able to succeed with a program like that. So it's challenging. And there are so many. My students also do literacy workbooks where they write, you know, so this is a quarter note, and one and a two and a, things like that. But the workbook we use isn't perfect, and I don't really know anybody who's got I don't really know anybody who's really got it figured out. Do any of you know anybody who's gotten it figured out?
You know, for boys, it's kind of very difficult because you have to hear the pitch in your brain, in your head, before
Yeah.
you can repeat the sound.
Yes.
For other instruments, they simply read the music and hit the note, and then you hear the sound. But
Right.
for singer, it's the other way around. You got to have that pitch in your
Yeah.
head first before you
Yeah,
can
it's hard.
repeat that sound.
Yeah.
So for a piano playing, some people are very good sight reading, and I'm pretty good sight reading. I can pick up any piece and I would play it or improvise it. But some people just cannot sight read. And somebody told me either you got it or you don't. What do you think?
You know, I used to think of that about tone deafness, and I don't think that anymore about tone deafness. I think everything can be taught. Innate, sort of immediate talent, sure. But can anybody be taught? Absolutely. I think the trick with the beginners is starting really slow. What is it? What is the old adage about slow practice? Slow practice makes progress. You know, something along the lines. So being slow and deliberate is where the progress really happens. If you try to speed through it and you make a lot of mistakes, then progress doesn't happen. Really depends on the temperament of the person who's doing it too, and depending on, and do they have the skills to know how to do the practicing too. It's not just about getting from point A to point B. It's how to get from point A to point B.
Right,
And
right.
being taught how to be effective with practice, I think is a big part of it too. But no, I don't agree with that statement. I used to, but I've had too many experiences that have told me otherwise with that. It's a tough one. Yeah. We've got another question from Aaron here. What is your favorite memory of a performance you participated in?
Oh, my final performance, my farewell performance. So.
That hasn't happened yet, correct?
Oh, it did, yes.
It did
I'm
happen?
not performing anymore, yeah, so.
So tell me about it.
My late husband was going to be transferred. Pan Am went bankrupt, so he took a couple of years to get a job. And to make the story short, we were leaving San Francisco. So I thought, what is the best for me to leave behind? My family, my friends, and my students. So I thought, well, my voice. So I did a final farewell recital. And I didn't sing for about 8 years. So it was pretty scary to do a comeback recital.
Wow.
So I thought, well, it's just going to be a small recital just to have fun. But anyway, the words got out that Lucy Lin is giving a final recital, a comeback recital. And so I had my family flying in from Japan, friends from South Africa. And
wow.
It turned out to be a big concert.
Wow.
And the best thing was that my doctor told me I had breast cancer a week before the concert. So So I told the doctor, you know, it's okay. That long time, you have to wait for 2 weeks because of the concert coming
You're
up.
going to have to wait.
Yeah, you're gonna have to wait.
And it all worked out.
Anyway, so I have
That's
my concert,
unbelievable.
and then I didn't tell anybody until after the concert. So
Wow.
everything turned out fine.
Everything turned out fine.
Yes.
Wow, Lucy.
Yeah.
What a life. What
Yeah,
a life you've
so-
led. Yeah, I would say that is quite memorable, isn't it?
Yeah, that was way back in 1993,
Mm,
94.
that's
Yeah.
wonderful. I'm trying to think of a favorite performance I've participated in as a singer or as a conductor. Um, I don't think I have one singular experience. I performed and during undergrad, we performed at a national ACDA convention at Walt Disney Hall, and just the audience reception was really shocking and sort of stunning for all of us. We were all sort of shocked into the realization of the appreciation that we heard in the applause. I also, with the same choir, went to Bulgaria for a choir tour and performed the Beethoven's Ninth with a Bulgarian choir and a Bulgarian orchestra. And it was quite memorable. I wouldn't say it was my favorite performance, but it was really memorable. It was, gosh, god awful hot in that room that we performed in. We were all wearing our long sleeve black long dresses and just sweat pouring while we were singing. And of course we had to stand there for the entire symphony. It wasn't just the third movement. We had to stand there for the entire symphony before we got to the third movement. And then the horns, we were right behind the horn section. And when they weren't playing, they were smoking cigarettes. They were blowing their smoke behind us.
This? What year is
this? This was 2000. This was 2004.
2004.
2003, 2004. They were smoking cigarettes and blowing smoke back at the singers before we started singing. It was hilarious.
I believe it. That time there are a lot of smokers.
Oh yeah, yeah. And
Lucy, tell me about 2013.
2013.
Yes.
I was in graduate school at University of Oregon at that time. Is there something, some date that I'm missing?
Okay. What did you win?
Oh, that's in my bio, isn't it? There was so in graduate school at University of Oregon, the chamber choir won the Fleischmann International Choral Festival in Cork, Ireland. And that was a really stunning experience. That could have been my favorite. My 10-month-old, who's 10 years old now, almost 10 years old, was there at the time. So that sort of clouds some of my memory of being able to enjoy it as a student, was having this baby with me. But that was wildly memorable. And that chamber choir was just phenomenal. It was just a phenomenal group, and it was an honor to be a part of it, and to win that competition really was pretty amazing. Yeah, thanks for asking. That's sweet of you. Last question from Aaron. Where can we find you in your choirs? When do you rehearse? What are your upcoming performances? And what's a website or email to contact the group? Go ahead, Lucy. So just where can we find the Chinese Choral Society?
Where what?
Says, where can we find you? Where do you rehearse? When do you rehearse?
Oh, okay.
What are your upcoming performances, and how do we contact you?
Okay, we have a webpage, San Diego Chinese Choral Society.org. All our activities are there, including the videos of the past concerts. We rehearse every Thursday night at 6:30 at the Mira Mesa Recreation Center. Although Thursday kind of turned out not to be a good day because a lot of church choirs rehearse on a Thursday night. So we lost some of the members that could not join us, but we couldn't change to any other day because San Diego Chinese Choral Society been rehearsing for the past 30 years on Thursday night. And you win some, you lose some.
Absolutely.
if we change to a different day, we're going to lose some of the chorus members, so we decided not to change it.
Yeah, yeah.
But we are always welcome. We do not audition members. It's a community chorus group, so we do not have audition. Everybody is welcome. And if they have patience, they can learn the music with us. And so we pretty much do it on a regular basis. We are also on a Zoom, so.
That's wonderful. What do you have any upcoming performances? I know
Yeah,
you
so
talked
we
about
have
one in
one-
December, yeah.
Yeah, we have one the holiday concert. We normally have concert in the spring, and I have the professional level in the fall. But of course, we couldn't have a concert for the last 2 years. We did manage to have the Canto Performance Foundation did manage to have 2 virtual concerts every year. But San Diego Chinese Choral hasn't. The first performance we had was San Diego Sing.
Yay, and you did beautifully.
Yeah,
I'm so glad you did
was
it.
our first one after 2 years. So
Yes, that's wonderful.
and then the next one going to be in December. So
That's wonderful. I'm so glad to have seen your choir at San Diego Sings and to have met you. It was a wonderful experience. I can't wait for the next time, right?
yeah, so the only, we love that place, Conrad Performing Arts, and it is a beautiful acoustic, was beautiful. The hall is beautiful. The only difference between this one and at the Balboa Park is I miss listening to everybody.
I know, I do too. You know what? Wink, wink to Carol and Aaron and board members. Who knows if there's energy behind the planning of it. Maybe it's 1 year is at the Oregon Pavilion and 1 year is at the Conrad, and they flip flop back and forth. Who knows? I'm not on the board anymore. I'm sad to not be on the board anymore. But wouldn't that be wonderful? I agree with you though. That was one trade-off that we decided to make. That was a hard one. It was a hard one to lose that. So
well, is it possible to make the video available for everybody?
I don't know. There's probably a bunch of licensing business to have to get around, right? Everybody has to if choirs have their own videos, so they can post their own videos if they want. But they might not be licensed to do so. So that might be what the issue is. Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's a bummer. So San Diego Children's Choir, we rehearse with kids who are from age 4 to 18. We have over 1,200 kids in our program. We have an ensemble program that has 15 rehearsals per week, depending on the choir. Each choir only has one rehearsal, but we have a sort of a satellite program. So we've got kids at different locations depending on accessibility. And we've got TK and K students in. Oh, good. Thanks, Carol. Yeah, we're posting Join and Gathering too, which is with our mass sing. We have kids TK and K offered in schools, and then we've got early years for 4 to 6 year olds. So we're all over the place. We offer classes as far south as Chula Vista and as far north as Del Mar, and we're out in La Mesa as well. And we have our ensemble choirs have our spring concert on June 4th, and our website is sdcchoir.org. And we want to see all the kids. We want all the kids in our program. Bring them all to us. Kids love to sing.
Is it something like after school program?
It is an after school program mostly. There are kids who get classes during the day, but those are pre-assigned schools based on availability. Those are the schools within a certain sort of area of the of the San Diego Unified School District that don't otherwise have music offered during the day. So otherwise it's an after school program. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh man, Lucy, it was really wonderful to talk to you tonight. I could keep going for forever, but it looks like our time is just about up. So
that's about up.
I want to pick your brain a lot more about your experiences over your life. What a amazing set of experiences and travels and it just sounds like it. Do you have an autobiography coming out anytime soon, Lucy?
A lot of people ask me to do that, but just don't have. I keep saying that when I retire, I want to learn how to paint. Right? And my daughter said, Mom, you are running out of time to do that.
No.
I'm still doing music here.
No. Well, as long as it makes you happy, right?
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm lucky. I'm blessed to do something that I'm truly enjoy doing. So,
Absolutely. We all are, for sure. Yeah. Aaron,
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us, Ruthie and Lucy, rhyming names and all. So great to have you guys discuss really cool stories coming out of this. So thank you for joining us once again. Please check out, for people coming to view us on YouTube after the fact, come check out their groups and their websites and their choirs. And we will catch everyone at the next Conductor conversation.
thank
Thanks,
you. Thank
Aaron.
you.
Thank you, Lucy.
Bye-bye.
Well done.
Have a
Okay,
good
Thanks,
night.
Carol.
everybody. This is Anna and all those that join us. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Carol.